Donte DiVincenzo is going to be an insanely good pickup for the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a guy who can defend multiple positions both on and off the ball, a guy who has enough of a floor game to play alongside Anthony Edwards in a backcourt, and a heart and soul hustler on the hardwood. And yet all of that pales in comparison to the way that Donte DiVincenzo shoots the ball. This is point blank one of the best shooters in the NBA. The kind of guy who can revolutionize a team's offense when he's on the floor with his ability to find shooting pockets and knock down shots. For the Timberwolves, that's exactly the type of injection they need into their offense that was already mediocre last season and just lost Karl Anthony Towns. The Wolves actually ranked 3rd in the NBA in 3-point percentage as a team last season, but they were in the bottom third of the league for 3-point volume. With DiVincenzo, they're only going to become a more accurate shooting team, but with his insane volume and his arsenal of shots, they're going to be able to pump up the frequency of shots they take from behind the arc as well. Now, there's a ton of ways a sniper like DiVincenzo can boost a team's offense and punish an opposing defense, but in its simplest form, someone with his shooting chops is going to feast on the gravity of his teammates. Because you just can't help off DiVincenzo. But when you play alongside great players like Jalen Brunson in New York and now Anthony Edwards in Minnesota, and Julius Randle now with both teams, defenses are going to naturally tilt towards those ball-dominant scorers and away from DiVincenzo. And all it takes is a foot or two of space for him to get off his looks and rain points from deep. If he's in the strong side corner and his defender really wants to sit in this gap to try and act as a roadblock for that drive, DiVincenzo is going to get open looks in a spot where he's a ridiculously efficient shooter. The thing that makes him special in these corners is that he doesn't need that much space. Tyrese Maxey is only a few feet from him here, and he's angling his body to close out on that corner easily, and DiVincenzo still catches, fires, and buries it without hesitation. And this ability to punish defenders who slide into gaps is pretty much transferable all over the court, particularly in pick and roll when players like Brunson and Edwards are so dangerous going downhill. Teams are going to put guys in those gaps and try to show bodies to those ball handlers, and even if two guys are closing out late on someone like DiVincenzo, there's a high chance that ball is still going up and still going in. Having DiVincenzo one pass away from Edwards is really going to be a big boost for Minnesota's offense next season. Ant isn't the type of game-breaking playmaker that can generate points for others at a high rate just yet, so sticking a sniper next to him and creating easy assist opportunities will be a really nice way to grease the wheels of their offense just a little bit more than last season. But really, that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of using DiVincenzo to capitalize on the gravity of others. One playmaking area that Edwards has improved on drastically since he entered the league is using the roll man's gravity going toward the rim to open up corner shooting pockets. So when Edwards is in pick and roll with Gobert, and Gobert rolls in behind his man who's dealing with Ant at the time, that corner defender is going to shift over as the low man to take away points at the rim, and that's when you're going to find that open man in the corner. With Gobert's rim rolling and Ant's downhill game, that's a shot that's going to be there a ton. Again, so as Rudy starts to roll, MPJ is already rotating down, and Ant can slither into a position where he can find MPJ's man in the corner. That was there for Edwards last season, and it'll be there again next season, except this time he's going to have Donte DiVincenzo in that spot a little more than the inconsistent Jaden McDaniels and the straight-up non-shooting Kyle Anderson. The thing about using roll gravity to pry open corner threes is it usually ends in wide open looks. By shifting the defense all the way across, it's only natural that the weak side corner is left unguarded. The Knicks found out last season just how beneficial that can be when Donte DiVincenzo is in that open corner. This is a guy who shot 44.9% from deep when the closest defender is at least 6 feet away. Minnesota were a shooter short last season, but they did create a ton of open looks with that roll gravity and the playmaking of Anthony Edwards and Mike Conley. If they can do that again next season, they're going to have one of the league's best shooters waiting there to cash in on those open looks. So he's going to get looks from Edwards, and he's probably going to get looks from other ball handlers like Conley and Rob Dillingham, but I'm intrigued to see how much his connection with Julius Randle can translate as well. Obviously Randle does it in a different way to Edwards or someone like Brunson, but the logic is the same. Dangerous scorers draw defenders toward them, and dangerous shooters capitalize on those tilted defenses. I think we'll see more of this, where DiVincenzo's man is the one who digs into double Randle in the post, which is going to allow DiVincenzo to just kind of drift into open spaces and find shots coming off Randle's playmaking. But that's kind of the basic stuff. That's what you get with every shooter. Not every team has a sharpshooter like DiVincenzo, but every team has at least a few guys who are going to exploit the gravity of their teammates. What's really going to sharpen Minnesota's offense and ultimately raise their ceiling as a team is the more special shooting traits that DiVincenzo possesses. For Minnesota, I think they really want to see their new shooter operating in two-man game or coming off a ball screen in the same way that Mike Conley does. The way that Conley manipulates defenders and forces them into the big body of Rudy Gobert so that he can get off a three-point look for himself is one of the best ways Minnesota generates points. Now DiVincenzo isn't the offensive genius that Conley is, but he's got enough of that in his bag coming off those ball screens to replicate some of what Conley is giving Minnesota. If he's coming off handoffs or playing pitch and catch with a screener, you've got a really dangerous weapon there for Minnesota's offense, especially considering Conley is going to be 37 years old at the end of this season, and they can't rely on him to be there forever. You see how he runs Maxey into the screen here, and then spins away to create separation, and even when Maxey stays connected, he keeps working the screen to find an open shot for himself. That's very Mike Conley-esque, and with Rudy Gobert's big body setting ball screen after ball screen in their offense, they might just find another tentacle to go and help them moving forward. The other thing Minnesota desperately need is someone who can be a focal point of set plays and exotic actions designed specifically for a movement shooter like Donte DiVincenzo. Chris Finch hasn't had a legit movement shooter since Malik Beasley 3 seasons ago, but Finch was able to reach deep into his playbook and really set up some sick actions when Beasley was around. I'm super excited to see DiVincenzo assume that role again now that he and Finch are going to link up. The Tibbs offense in New York didn't really encourage a ton of set plays for movement shooters, but we saw what DiVincenzo can do coming off screens and sprinting into jumpers when he was in Golden State under Steve Kerr. Like Beasley, he was constantly on the move around off-ball screens, he was hunting space, and then he's using that hair trigger jumper to make defenses pay for not staying connected. We even got to see a little glimpse of this ability to shoot out of actions in Minnesota's first preseason game when he came off this little pistol pin down action where he runs the handoff and then boomerangs back up off a pin down screen into a catch and shoot jumper. That's actually a favourite play of Chris Finch and Mike Conley, which kind of shows already that DiVincenzo is in Chris Finch's plans as a staple of their movement offense. I'm sure soon enough we're going to see more actions and more shooting and more long-range buckets from Minnesota's newest shooter, and when we look back on this franchise-altering trade, Timberwolves fans are going to be grateful that Donte DiVincenzo was a massive part of it. Thanks again for watching Howls and Growls. Please subscribe for more.